check this. Hopefully you can hear me now, but I'm not sure. Let's check. Let me mute this mic. We'll change this to here, and then I can change this one, audio. All right, you can hear me now, hopefully. All right, perfect. So I apologize. So I'm hot off the heels. What I was saying, for those of you who couldn't hear me, because obviously it wasn't working, maybe, is coming off of an event like Medicare Con, which was phenomenal. If you weren't there, you should have been, and you should add that to your list of things to do next year, 100%. They are already booking tickets, so you should look into that. If you are in the Medicare space, it's something worth going to. So there's two parts of an event to me. Really, there's the mindset part of it, which is where you get motivated by being around individuals that are in a like mind and a like business. It's a lonely business in the Medicare space, or as an insurance agent. As they say, you're out in the field by yourself a lot. And so being around a bunch of people that are like-minded and like to talk about the same things as you, and or finding people that are doing more and better than you, can often motivate you. So there's the motivation factor that comes from going to an event or a training or a boot camp or any kind of community thing. But the best part of it to me is making sure you have a plan of implementation. So you should have a list of the top handful of gold nuggets that you resonate with the most, that you want to apply to your business the most. And then you start an implementation program and campaign. And you need to, in essence, have guess and check testing to figure out, how am I going to not only take the idea and implement it, but how can I make it my own? How can I make it better? How can I make it unique? And that's really the key parts of that. And whether you go to a training on a Zoom, whether you go into a room or whatever it is, that should always be your mission, is to, I don't want to try to like memorize the whole thing, because in reality, that's not going to happen. At best, you're going to absorb 10%. And so of that 10% that you absorb, you need to prioritize and figure out what is the number one thing. So if nothing else, I implement one thing from going to the conference, from going to a training, from going to other things. The other aspect of going to an event is the social side and the connections that you can meet and the interactions you have. Cool. We have somebody jumping on, Viola. She was at Medicare Con as well. So that's always fun. But yeah, having the interaction with the other people, the people in the room with you, are often more valuable to you than the people on the stage and the content that you're getting from the people on stage. So the key parts of going to an event is, number one, you got to show up to the event. So you actually got to buy a ticket, you got to show up to one. And then you got to have a mission that it's not just about going to the event. And it's not, is there entertainment involved? Yes. And part of it is fun, but you really got to have a business mindset when you go to an event. So, but that's not what the training's about. But I can't help but bring it up, being on the heels of attending an event like Medicare Con. And so I had a breakout session, which for me is an opportunity to plug in and train. And it's one of my favorite things to do, is to roll my sleeves up and really get down and dirty and give usable stuff. And so that's really what I want to focus on. I've been working on this concept with my team for quite a while, because it's a concept that most people think sounds like it's a great idea, but don't practice it and do not put it into play, which makes it'll make a huge difference if you can get this one fundamental thing down, which is, what is your introduction? What is your elevator pitch? What is the response that you give to someone saying something like, what do you do? Okay. Who are you? Why are you calling? Which is the same thing. What do you do? Who are you? Why are you calling? And if you don't have a very, very, very well scripted, well prepared response to that, then you're often going to have what I would call the epitome of the normal bland experience. And so if you think about it, what does the guest provide? And I'm trying to change it to where it doesn't just show there. That'll be better. What is it about your response that motivates somebody to want to engage with you? Are you interesting? Are you likable? But are you solving problems? Are you finding points of pain that you help alleviate? And some people don't know that they have points of pain. And that's part of the process of having a good introduction. And it should start with, you control the small talk. You should control the questioning. And one of my biggest tips to somebody with small talk, let me be clear. I don't like small talk, and for the purposes of filling time, wasting time is what I would call that. But a small talk can be a powerful tool if you have a mission behind it, and if you're controlling the conversation. And the way you control the conversation is you control the line of questioning. If you're the one asking the questions, then you are the one controlling the conversation. And so what you really want to stick with is focusing on, how can I control the conversation best? How can I have a concert of questions that gets them used to saying yes, gets them used to being open and honest, and gets them used to and being comfortable with being vulnerable really quickly. And so again, the best way that you do this is you ask the question, you answer the question that you're going to ask first, and then you ask the question you want the answer to. So if I want them to ask me what I do, an easy way to interject that into the conversation is to ask them what they do. But that's the only exception to the rule, because the what do you do question, I don't want to offer the answer to that first. I want to wait till they ask me that question and invite the answer in. Every other question, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite pizza? What do you like to do for fun? What are your thoughts on the weather or the politics or the religion? Whatever direction you want to take the small talk should have at the end of it a destination in mind, which is, I need them ask me, what do you do? Right. And the reason is, you've got to condition and train and program people. This is where the machine part comes in. You got to program your machine first, your programs, and then you got to program the other people that you're talking to. And what I mean by program the other people you're talking to is making sure that the questions you ask get you closer to the target that you're trying to achieve. And so when I'm asking small talk questions, the reason I wanted to get to what do you do is I want to be ready with my elevator pitch at that point. And I want to be able to strike with points of pain that I solve. What I'm doing really is fishing for points of pain that they know or identify with, and or conditioning their brain down the road that if they hear somebody else has that same point of pain that I've discussed that I fix, then ideally in that scenario, their brain then lines up, I'm the solution to the problem. And so that's, you're really trying to help their brain program point of pain plus me equals peace of mind, equals problem solved. And so that's the line of questioning you have should involve that. Now, the other aspect to small talk should be to get as much intel about them on a non-business nature as possible, because we're trying to create an emotional relationship connection with each human being. That's how you're going to build up the 5 pillars of trust: the likability, the dependability, the expertise, the customer orientation, and the sales orientation. The way you establish all 5 of those is you control the conversation, and you get into the conversation all 5 of those components. And so likability typically comes from showing interest and genuine interest in the other party. And so asking questions about what they're passionate about, which is what I call fishing. You're fishing for points of pain and points of passion, points of pleasure. In essence, the 3 Ps: pain, pleasure, passion. And passion can go either direction. Passion can be passionate about, I'm vehemently against a point of pain, or it can be vehemently passionate about the point of pleasure. But typically the stronger passion is going to come from the point of pain side. And so that's where you want to use the points of pain to motivate, and motivate me, get them to move, right? So you motivate somebody to react in a response manner. So have the knee-jerk reaction be to the point of pain to be you, the point of pleasure. So that's where the construction of your elevator pitch comes into play. And you need to write down the different categories that you're going to target. You need to write down low income, and you need to have a set of points of pain that you solve for low income, so that you can practice the rebuttal part of what do you do to someone that you can make an assumption that possibly could be low income or know some low income people. You can then use some of the low income points of pain and pleasure that you solve. So you got to have that ready. You also got to have a T65 set. You also need to have a set for people that are past 65 and haven't gotten either A or B or both yet. You need to have different scenarios already built out in your mind to create these, in essence, flow charts of rebuttals that you'll have to make the conversation your own and also get a point across the conditioning of the mind to the client, where next time they hear about somebody talking about them not being able to afford their prescriptions, as an example, that's a point of pain. Getting to the pharmacy counter and being told that your prescription's not covered, or it's $500 or $1,000 or $10,000, that's a point of pain, and could be a simulated point of pain. So for a lot of us, the doomsday aspect of it, where the point of pain may just be the fear. It could be the fear of loss, could be the fear of failure, could be the fear of embarrassment. Typically the fear part of it is the fear comes from a point of pain. We're afraid of pain. It's conditioned and wired into our brain to be afraid of pain. Why? Because pain typically is bad. There's a reason that pain exists, right? Whether it's emotional or physical, etc. So for us, we're playing in an emotional game. And so we really want to focus on the emotional aspect of it. And being able to control that part of the conversation, the hi, how are you? And you should sit in the hi, how are you pocket as long as possible, having small talk. And if you can, you want to talk about what they're passionate about. Talk about gardening, talk about golf, talk about grandkids, and ask them what their grandkids' names are, how old they are, where do they live, how often do you see them. And in essence, what you want to do is build up a realm of positivity in their mind, have them reminiscing about positive things, so that when the conversation finally does veer to the business side of things, you have them in a good mood. Right? Having someone postured up and into a good mood, similar to teeing the ball up in golf, similar to having a good solid pitch, a softball down the middle pitch in baseball or whatever. And it's having those gimmies, or what look like gimmies. Gimmies are set up by a good shot. Gimmies are set up by preparation. Gimmies are set up by practicing. And so if you're not practicing how you're introducing yourself, you're going to have a harder time. And so for me, if someone comes up and let's say I'm at a food bank, number one for me, let me make this clear, because I'm wearing Medicare Peace of Mind, or Insurance Peace of Mind, or any of my brands, wherever I'm at, there's no question about who I am and what I do. When I was in Las Vegas, after the conferences were over and I was at the blackjack table, I was still wearing the same thing. And the dealers and everybody else would always make the remarks, I guess there's no question of asking what you do. So for me, if you're face to face with me, I've completely eliminated the part where they ask what I do. And so I go on the offensive and I just start fishing for points of pain. And I just engage in normal conversation. There's no question of what I do because of how I dress. And so that's the other part of it. Are you branding yourself correctly? And do people, do they know what you do? Or do you have to go through that process where they don't trust you? And there's a reason why I choose to be branded all the time. And that's because that's what other companies do that are successful. They brand all the time. So, what does the coach of the Dallas Mavericks wear when he's not at work? Well, he's probably wearing a Dallas Mavericks hat or a Dallas Mavericks coat or something. He's going to represent the brand at all times. You've got to represent your brand at all times, and it makes it easier when you're in the field having conversations with a client. When you have the ability to control the conversation, and it's all these little tiny setups that go into controlling the conversation, and then having the confidence. And where does confidence come from? Well, it comes from the continuous productivity and results that you've had over time that give you the confidence to knowing of how things go. That comes from studying, that comes from knowledge, that comes from experience. And so that's where I would say to start. That's the number one variable you control on the 5 pillars of trust: expertise. So if you don't have all the plans in your area, the key plans, can you give me an example of your elevator pitch? Sure. It would depend on the scenario that I'm in. So again, let's talk about the food bank. Someone walks up to me at the food bank. For me, there's no question for my elevator pitch is going to be different than yours unless you brand yourself like I do. So if you're walking around in branded attire and you're asking me about Medicare button upside down, then you don't have to worry about that part of it. And you can go right into the points of pain. So for me, my elevator pitch goes along the lines of, how are you today? I talk about the weather or whatever. If I'm outside, we're going to talk about the weather. If we're inside, I'm going to talk about, are you excited? How was your Easter? Was that close to Easter? That I would ask how their Easter was. And I would get into the conversation, and then I would go, so tell me, what are you on Medicare? And I would always position it with, tell me, are you, I would not guess that you do not look old enough to be on Medicare, but are you on Medicare? Oh, okay, great. Which, I'm just curious, which company are you on? Okay, great. I'm just curious, which plan are you on with that company? Oh, okay. You're on the Humana Gold Plus plan. Okay. Are you using your over-the-counter benefit? So, are you using your dental benefit? Are you using did you know you have silver sneakers? And are you taking advantage of that? Are you familiar with the Go 365 program? And et cetera, et cetera, and so on. So I'm going to fish through all the benefits I have memorized with Humana to make sure that they're utilizing all of the extras. And what I'm doing is I'm fishing for a point of pain. The point of pain would be, and the reason I lead with over the counter, that's the number one benefit that people aren't using most of the time because they aren't informed they have it. So I start off with that, and then I position so tell me, how did you pick out the Humana Gold Plus plan? I'm just curious. And I wait to hear how they pick it out. Sometimes it's, I don't know. I saw a TV commercial. I talked to somebody at a Walmart, whatever the case may be. And then I'm going to fish farther for another point of pain, which is, are they receiving the service that they deserve? And so the follow-up questions would be along the lines of, when's the last time you heard from whoever that helped them pick out that plan? Why do they call? How often do they call? Do you get an annual reevaluation to make sure that you're always continuously making sure that you match yourself up with the right fit? And in essence, there's either going to be a point of pain on the benefit side or a point of pain on the insurance agent support side. And there's a misconception because most agents are lazy and creatures of habit. And so you have an advantage because of that, by the way, that you can basically play on those things and explain the point of pleasure. The positioning would be, this is how I treat people. I treat people just like my mom, which means they have 365-day access to me. I explain the fact that based in my career over the years, I've learned a couple of things. And one of them is, most people don't need me 363 to 364 days a year. But there's 1 or 2 days a year that you need an answer, and you need the right answer right now. I want to be there for that. And I paint the picture of who I am and what I do. So for me, Viola, the positioning of the elevator pitch that is determined by the person, but typically it's going to start off with me telling them about how I treat people. So I basically give them a standard introduction. My name's Joshua. Obviously, I say obviously when I hold my hands and hover them around myself. I say obviously I will help people with insurance, and I word it exactly like that. I help people with insurance and avoiding making mistakes, Medicare mistakes, and avoiding costly penalties and out-of-pocket costs that are unnecessary. And I do that by providing above level service. And where most insurance think that the job is helping you pick out a plan, I believe my job doesn't start until the policy does. And once the policy starts, I'm there to answer questions, fix problems, and make sure things work like they're supposed to. And then every year we do a reevaluation to make sure that as things change in your situation and as things change in the plans every year, that we're always reevaluating to make sure that you're always in the right place, just like I do for my mom. So let me ask you a few questions. What plan are you on now? Okay, great. That's a great plan. I have a lot of clients that use that plan. Are you utilizing your over-the-counter benefit? Oh, you're not. Oh, you don't even know what the over-the-counter benefit is? Well, let me explain what that is to you. and I'll go through and I'll explain the over-the-counter benefit is a benefit you receive. Did you know you have $75 every 3 months to shop for things like Band-Aids and toothbrushes and cold medicine and cough medicine and vitamins and things like that? Would you like me to show you how to put an order in? Great. And I'm going to set up the table with service first, because service drives referrals, service drives retention, service drives everything. And then at the end of that process, if there's an angle where I can help them improve, I'll do the fact finding. And then I'll say, can I just give your situation an integrity check? Because what I do for people is I help them confirm or deny. What I mean by that is I'll either confirm that what you have right now, this Humana plan you have, is in fact the absolute plan that I would have you on if you were my mom and I was your agent. However, if it's not, then I'll deny it and I'll tell you what I would recommend and why. And that process of confirm, deny gives them the peace of mind comforts that you're there for what you're there for, which is to do what's right for them. And then on the backside, that's really where, if to think about it, everyone hears the promises up front. Always. Every agent out there is great on the front side until the application's taken. So where you really are going to separate yourself is not before the application, it's after the application. And the way that you do that is you set the table of what that experience is going to be like. Right? So when you go to a 5-star restaurant and you're ordering the 6-course meal, they describe the experience by telling you, okay, pick 1 from this category, pick 2 from this category, pick 1 from this category, pick 2 from this category. And you don't know the back end of the actual nuts and bolts of the experience, but you have a general idea of how things are going. That's the second thing. You need to have a good elevator pitch. You need to have a menu. What I mean by menus, you need to have a piece of paper or a document or a website or something on the back of your business card, anything that shows somebody the buffet or the arrangement of offerings that you have. So it's in those details that you're going to find success and positioning in a way that allows you to play the sides of point of pain and point of pleasure to your advantage to help somebody be motivated to, in essence, to give you an opportunity. And that's really all I'm looking for. I'm looking for an opportunity to give them peace of mind. Because for me, I'm just as ecstatic for somebody when they're already on the right coverage as I am when I can help them get to the right coverage. And I keep that spirit with me all times. For me, the success and the money and everything else that goes with being productive as a Medicare insurance broker is a byproduct of the wake of people that I'm helping. And it's the people. You can't lose focus on what gets you where you're going. It's the people that matter. And each one of these people, each one of these men and women out there that you're helping are grandparents and parents and sisters and brothers and cousins and uncles of other people that care about them. And they want that their families want you to treat them like family too. And when the family, that's really when you can really start to get some fire going on the referral train. There's several families where just through the 7 degrees of separation, if you will, over time, I'll find out that they'll have like huge pockets of the same family as clients. And then once they all figure that out, that they have that commonality, then basically I'm now the family insurance guy. You know what I mean? And you really position for like generational positioning, which does happen if you stay in the business long enough. You can have multiple generations of clients in your book of business, so to speak, and you should, if you're doing things correctly. That's part of the growth process. But again, it all starts with that introduction. It all starts with your elevator pitch, and it all starts with your positioning of the menu and describing what the experience is going to be like. So what the experience of being your client is like is one of the most important things that you can construct. And so if you haven't taken time, and I said this at Medicare Con, and this is the phrase that I would do it, there's a big difference between staying at the Super 8 or a motel and staying at the Ritz-Carlton. Staying at a 5-star location versus a 1-star location, there's a huge difference. Now, not everybody has the budget for a 5-star hotel. However, in my scenario, all insurance agents cost the same. And the client doesn't pay anything for any of us. And so if you have an opportunity to separate yourself in a C, again, it's the same thing I tell people when I'm talking about med sups. If your company, if your bill's med sup, how in the heck do you compete with a Humana, a United Healthcare, a Mutual of Omaha, who already has the name and brand established? If the coverage is identical, if the benefits are standardized, if the price for every agent is the same, then what are the differentiators? Well, on med subs, the differentiators are customer service, price stability, and longevity. As an agent, what are the differentiators? There's a lot of them. You can create your own. What are you doing for the birthday? Is it just a card? Are you sending them a cookie? Are you sending them a flower? Are you sending them what? What are you sending them? Are you customizing the gift, or is it the same gift for everybody? There's a lot of things that you can do on little nuances to create the experience that makes a unique thing for your brand, for your situation, where people are now describing what the experience is like. So if you refer someone to a restaurant, you don't refer them, just say, hey, you got to go to this restaurant and just leave it at that. You describe that it was off the top service, the food was off the charts, wonderful and yummy. They described 3 or 4 components of the experience, and that was the motivating factor for them to refer you to that restaurant. Same thing with an insurance agent, but you got to be 10 times more over the top. And it doesn't take, you don't have to spend millions of dollars, or thousands of dollars on each client to create that experience. It's little tiny subtle things where if you just take the time to create more fact-finding momentum and ask them more questions about their hobbies. One of my favorite tips to give somebody is start on your fact finder, start asking people if they have pets. And if you have a cat or a dog or a fish or a rat or a hamster or anything, do you have anything? If so, get the pet's name. The most pet owners love their animal. And so you got to find out the birthday of the pet and start sending that pet a birthday present every year. So if it's a dog, send them a little chew toy each year with a little note. Those little tiny degrees of separation that in your mind aren't a big deal, create such a gap between you and your competition in that client's mind that the loyalty goes off the charts. The retention goes off the charts with the loyalty right with it. Right. And then the service drives the retention, service drives referrals, service drives cross-selling. So when are you starting the service process? At the beginning or at the end? And at the beginning is where you're going to find the most success, because at the beginning is where you'll find the opportunity to create the first impression. It's that first impression that builds the momentum that enables you to have long-term success across a variety of opportunity and through the storms. And that's the thing. What kind of foundation are you building with your client? Is it going to be able to withstand a storm? Is it going to be able to withstand a disruption? Is it going to be able to withstand someone making false promises over the phone? Like for me, when I hire a new staff member, what I had to learn was I have to send out an announcement in an email and in a literal mail, in the mail letter with a picture of the person and everything, because otherwise I've done such a good job of training my clients to hang up the phone if it's anyone but me or my office or the insurance company. And even now I tell them, if it's the insurance company, hang up and call us, and then we'll call together. It's getting to that point where you don't want to trust anyone to provide the service to your client. Do not outsource the service to your client, to anyone. And I mean anyone. If you do that, you will start losing clients to those other people who are servicing. Can I add a fact finder sheet on the online store? Oh yeah, absolutely, Jim. That's a great idea. Thank you. So I have a resources section in the Academy that I just need to publish. And so I'll try to get some of that done this weekend just for you, because you are my favorite. Yeah. So the positioning, we're a little bit over time. I'm going to do a little bit of bonus time real quick to kind of summarize and wrap up for this week's live training. But again, to summarize, you want to take time to put together your elevator pitch and create points of pain for each subcategory. So as an example, with low income, my points of pain typically are the Part B premium, the grocery card if they're eligible for Medicare and Medicaid, and then the other extras: dental, vision, hearing, silver sneakers, transportation benefit. You want to use those as lures to fish for the point of pain that matches the client. Because for some people, the transportation benefit will be the most important one. Others, it'll be the dental. Others, it'll be the grocery card. But the most popular ones are the Part B, being paid for with the QMB program, the Medicare Savings Program, and then the grocery card where they're available and what plans they're available on. So those are the points of pain that you want to, like, immediately. If I think I'm talking to someone in a low income situation, if I'm at the food bank, if I'm at the low income housing facility, etc., then the response to who are you or what do you do is going to be, I help people get their Social Security check increased, and I help people get more money for groceries. So that's the point of pleasures. The counter claim would be the point of pain is, I help people avoid going hungry. I help people avoid not having enough money each month. And then they say, oh, how do you do that? I help them do that by qualifying for the QMB program, or I help them that by doing that by qualifying for a special need plan that has additional benefits at no cost to them. Oh, tell me more. And what you want to do, and remember this always, you're writing a fine line of giving enough information to prove you're the expert, and giving too much information where they think they're now the expert and they don't need you anymore, and they do the decision without you. They call the company and enroll directly, or they call somebody else, or any of that. So you want to ride that line of giving enough information where it's them asking, the only questions they should be asking is, tell me more about that. Can you tell me more? You should be hearing that frequently in your conversation. So construct your elevator pitch with points of pain, position to explain the experience, have a menu of what you can help with. So what all the different products that you can do, have them listed so that they can go through the menu and choose what they want. Because not everybody wants dessert, but you don't want to not sell dessert by not offering it. Okay. And so menu, elevator pitch, if you can construct those two things to start, it will exponentially increase, it will double your productivity for this year if you can get those two things down by itself. Second thing, make sure you show up for trainings, make sure you plug into events, and not just my stuff, plug into your local carrier trainings, plug into your local carrier events, plug into the regional trainings, contact your upline and ask them if they're doing any trainings. Do plug into as much stuff as possible so you can start implementing one idea at a time. So any of you that watch this live now or watching it later, implement the things I just told you. And I promise you, next week, you'll be more productive because of it. And over time, as you get better and better at it, just like anything else you practice, you're going to become more and more of a master at your domain. And when you can control the conversation and you can control the trust bubble, you control the whole thing. And basically it becomes not work. It becomes very fun. It becomes very easy when you do all the things correctly. So thanks for tuning in. This is Joshua Youngs. This is the Medicare Machine Factory weekly training. We decided to throw it live this week. If you want to participate in these weekly trainings, the best way to do that, and really the only way long-term, is going to be joining the Medicare Machine Academy. And so if you haven't joined the Academy, you should do that. It's a living, breathing training platform. It's not just a training course. It's a living, breathing training platform. Courses being added weekly, a live weekly training. You also get discounts and opportunities to participate in Medicare Machine events throughout the year as well. So thanks again for showing up, for attending, for your attention, and have a great weekend.